Visitors to Wentworth Woodhouse will be familiar with the sweeping views across the parkland to the impressive east front of the house. It famously has the longest facade in England. But what is less well known is that Wentworth once sat within vast pleasure grounds. Today, hidden behind this magnificent Georgian building is a 50-acre garden. And here you'll find ancient trees and rare plants of great horticultural interest. And should you plan your visit for spring or early summer, you'll discover yet another of Wentworth's hidden secrets: the stunningly colourful displays of rhododendrons. Not native to this country, rhododendrons were first brought to England during the 18th century, and they were to become a key part of the garden's planting scheme. That was until the end of the Second World War, when everything was about to change. In 1946, disaster struck. Manny Shinwell, at that time the government's Minister of Fuel and Power, insisted on developing open-cast mining across the estate. In April, just before the diggers moved in, the gardeners decided they must try to save some of these magnificent plants, including rhododendrons, which were dug up and moved elsewhere for safekeeping. But sadly, not everything could be saved from the path of the diggers. As the heavy machinery burst through the walls of the paddock and ripped up the manicured lawns, the gardeners, unable to do anything more, turned their backs in defiance. Over a number of years, mining operations took over the west side of the gardens, and the excavations came perilously close to the house itself. Much of the landscape was destroyed, including an avenue of ancient trees which had been planted to commemorate the Battle of Blenheim in 1704. Thankfully, work eventually stopped, and in the 1950s, the spoil heaps were landscaped and the rescued rhododendrons were returned. In more recent years, the gardens have been given a whole new lease of life. The last private owner of the house, Clifford Newbold, had great plans for the gardens, and in 2004, he appointed Scott Jameson as head gardener. Scott's vision has been to improve and bring structure to the gardens. Here, he explains how he started to expand the rhododendron collection.
Also, early spring showcases our species rhododendrons, and they came from a collector in Scotland near Carlisle, and we went up in a van and basically bought pretty much the whole collection, and they were seedlings, plants of unknown origin, and now some of them may actually be unique to Wentworth Woodhouse, which is quite interesting. So as they grow and develop, we might have the Rhododendron Society come and see if we can't get some names put on them, and they may be, like say, peculiar just to Wentworth Woodhouse.
When Wentworth Woodhouse Preservation Trust took on the house in 2017, Scott, along with his team of volunteers, continued the task of shaping the gardens.
Again, it's that age-old, you don't garden for now, you garden for everybody else. And I think, again, something else that we can't forget is that if it wasn't for the Newbolds, we wouldn't have the garden that the Trust have today. So we have to acknowledge that. While ever I'm here, I will be the custodian of this garden, in as much as that any garden's only ever under your stewardship for so many years or so many decades. So my job is to continue almost the Newbold legacy, but, you know, in a different way.
The gardens at Wentworth Woodhouse are a must-see all year round. But in spring, well, that's when the gardens really come into their own, with wonderful displays of snowdrops and daffodils, followed by the magnificent beauty of rhododendrons. Why not come and see it for yourself?